Hello, today we'll be discussing how to install software locally in your home directory on a HPC system using Conda. Conda is a package manager which was originally created to assist in the installation of Python and Python modules. Over time, it has expanded to support many other software packages, such as other programming languages like R and R modules, and additional pieces of software. For instance, you could install a container runtime like Singularity or Aptainer and be able to run containers and run a completely different operating system if you so choose. On the Lakeshore system, in order to access Conda, you can start a interactive job on a compute node. In this case, we're going to run a basic interactive job on the batch partition. Now that we are on a compute node, we can load Conda into our environment. On Lakeshore, we have multiple implementations of Conda. We do have the official Anaconda tools installed. However, the official Anaconda repositories are blocked at the firewall level. This is due to some concern with licensing issues for the official Anaconda repositories. We do support community repositories such as Conda Forge, Bioconda, and others. In addition, what we suggest to use is an implementation of Conda called Mamba. Mamba is a re-implementation of Conda written in C++. For large, complex software installations, Mamba is much, much faster at resolving dependencies and installing packages. To access Mamba, first we need to load it in our environment, and we can do so with the module command module load Mamba. Now that this is loaded, we have access to the Mamba tools. By default, there is one environment listed called the base environment. This is where Mamba is installed and Python. As an unprivileged user, we cannot install software in this location. What we can do is create a virtual environment. A virtual environment is essentially a folder which will be created in our home directory where some software can be installed. To create a virtual environment, we run Mamba create -n, and then we give it a name. In this case, let's call it my-env. Now that our virtual environment has been created, we can make it active by running source activate Now we see the name of our virtual environment listed before our prompt. This shows that our virtual environment is active. If we go back and list the virtual environments we have access to, this star denotes that this virtual environment is currently active. With our virtual environment loaded, we can use Mamba to install software by running Mamba install Python. And we can install another Python module, for instance, pandas. This will resolve the dependencies. We now see that it will install pandas. It will also install Python and other dependent packages to make this software work. If we type yes, it will now download and install all of the software into our virtual environment. Using the which command, we can check to see where Python lives in our environment. We now see that Python is installed in our home directory in a folder called .conda envs my-env and in the bin directory. We can install whatever other software we'd like to into this virtual environment. We can also create multiple other virtual environments if we had different projects which required different collections of software. In addition, if we needed to have the same virtual environment available on another machine, such as your personal laptop or on a lab machine, we can export our current environment by running Mamba env export, give it the name of the virtual environment, and then a file to write out to. Now, if we look in this file, it lists the name of our virtual environment, the channels used to install the software, in this case, Conda Forge, and all of the dependent packages and the exact versions that we have installed. If I run source, deactivate my env, I can deactivate my current environment. I could delete my current environment or delete my virtual environment using Conda env remove. And now if I list my virtual environments, I see that my env is no longer available to me. If I wanted to recreate it on this machine or another machine, I can run Mamba env create, give it a name. In this case, we're going to call it new env, and we're going to build the environment based off of the file that we exported. Now, if we list our virtual environments, we see that we have new env listed. Exiting our interactive job, we get back to the login node. And from here, we could use this in a submit script. This is a basic submit script. At the top here, we have commands which are going to be read by the job scheduler to set up our job. We're going to ask for one CPU core on one node on the batch partition. We're going to check where Python is available on the system. Then we're going to load Mamba, activate our virtual environment, and then check where Python exists in our environment, and then exit. If we run this using sbatch, we see it gets submitted. This is our job ID. And then we see our output file. And we see that this is the default version of Python installed on the system. After loading our virtual environment, this is where Python is available. Those are the basic steps of how to use Conda.